Hello and welcome to Growing Humans by Design. This is our first session. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Share that one. All right, can everybody see that? All good? First slide. Yes, so welcome. Tonight we are covering all things about the human design system and the mechanics of the chart. And if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat box and I'll come back and address them at the end of the session. What I want to first say to you is what human design is not. It is not a cult. It's not a religion. It's not predictive. It's not meant to limit you. It's not to put you in a box. It's not a personality test. It is purely about your design and your DNA and ancient wisdoms. It is not career advice. It is not to be memorized. It's to be embodied, and it's not the be all and end all. It is just a piece of your puzzle. It's a pretty great piece of the puzzle, but just know that it's not to limit you at all. It's a foundational system that you can start to connect with yourself more authentically, and then you can spring off that and go and express those that your personality and your design exactly how you see fit. It's not about conforming to a box. Go to our first scroll. So human design, early in 1987, this is Ra Uru Hu. This is an assumed name by a gentleman who I cannot remember his name, but he channeled this detailed information about the mechanics of the universe and human existence, which he later shared with the world as human design. It has been evolving ever since. And that's a really big piece that even though that this was a channeled system, it still comes to you through the lens of Ra Uru Hu. And many people have now taken human design under their wing, brought it into the new age, given it some more language. And so you will find that there are many different people all over the world that are making interpretations of human design. None of them are wrong. And if you are finding somebody that you connect to, the way that they articulate and you resonate with the way that they deliver the information, then that's probably a really good sign that that is an energetic match for you. So human design is all about energy, and it's about being aware of where it's leading you. So it's a logical system that brings together the principles of the I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and quantum physics. So that's your DNA and the neutrinos, which we'll go into a little bit in a minute. It is a blueprint of your energetic body and a compass for you to harness that energy and lead a life of alignment. So the system tells us, and tomorrow we'll dive into the energy types, the strategies in life, and the authorities, and that will help you understand how each of those types manage and sustain their energy system. So your human design chart is calculated by using your birth data, the date, the time, and place. And this is because at that particular time, there's neutrinos coming down from the cosmos, and that's what gives you that's what imprints your body, your energetic body, with this information. It is determined by the positioning of the planets at that particular time, and in turn influences the definition of the centers, channels, and gates within your chart. So everything on your chart carries an energy, a particular archetype or a theme. We'll go through those in a minute. These are influenced by these neutrinos. And so this is the science element of human design. A lot of people can relate to or have attachments to the fact that this is part of an ancient wisdom technique with astrology and the chakra systems. So sometimes it's boxed up and put into a woo-woo category or a spiritual category. And what these neutrinos, the information about the neutrinos gives is the science element, the foundational piece that some people need to make it feel correct. So these neutrinos are what creates the archetype or the theme that is carried by the centers, the gates, and the channels. The neutrinos are particles of information that come down from our sun and the cosmic field. They come into our bodies and influence our life. The Earth actually experiences 3 trillion neutrinos passing through the planet every second. Our energetic body, we experience about 1 trillion neutrinos pass through our energetic body every second. So we're absorbing a third of what's coming out of the cosmos. And so this gives a really good understanding of how energy affects us. The solar flares, the equinox, the retrogrades, how your neighbour's feeling, the emotions that your husband's brought home from work. These pieces are all what influence your body. Are you still with me? Am I going all right? So this energy that we experience from all around us, and the energy that's maintained on your chart, is viewed as a spectrum of energy. So each of these archetypes, the themes that are carried through the centers, the gates, and the channels within the chart, carry a lower expression or a higher expression. And that's where that terminology, the spectrum, is. So so the lower expression is when we're sitting in a negative, unhealthy, or wounded space. And the higher expression is the positive, healthy, and healed space. So the spectrum of energy is not to be taken as a right or a wrong way of being. It's simply just a way to observe yourself and how you're carrying that energy, because that's when you know if you're sitting in the higher expression of the gate or the center or the channel, you know that you are living in alignment. When things from the lower expression of that center, gate, and channel arise and you're processing some trauma or drama or emotion, then you know that you're operating from the lower end of the spectrum and that there's this is an opportunity for growth. So yeah, there's no wrong or right. They're just all signposts to tell you where you are on the spectrum of the energy. So this is the chart. This particular one moment, please. This particular picture appears on the second page of my report. So if you book in for a human design reading, you get about a 10-page report. It might be smaller if you're a non-emotional body. I dive deep into the emotionals because I'm an emotional body myself, so I love unpacking the wave frequencies, which we'll dive into later. So when you run your chart, and there is lots of places that you can run your chart. A lot of people have their own websites that do this for you. I use Gen Matrix because it's a library of space, and it's almost one of the original spaces that the chart was run from. So so the chart components, let's break those down. So there is 9 geometrical shapes. Each of these shapes, like we've said, carry an archetype energy. We'll unpack those in a minute. Within those geometrical shapes, so we're seeing them here, here's the head. Within these geometrical shapes, you'll see the numbers. The numbers relate to gates. The lines that connect these two centers together are called channels. anything within your chart that is coloured in, so say the spleen down here, that's coloured in, that is part of the definition in your chart. Anything that is not coloured in is undefined, is talked about as undefined. There is also a reference to being open. I think I've got a slide about this in a minute. And that's when there is absolutely no definition. So within a centre that is not coloured in, it's not defined, and it has no gates defined as well. So this head centre is a really good example of that. It has nothing defined. That is completely open. And I'll dive into that a little bit more. When there's two gates that are defined, and I think I might have to move this so I can see. When there are two gates that are defined and linked together in a fully defined channel, that is what creates the definition within the center. So here you can see the spleen and the root are both defined. That's because they are connected by a fully defined channel. If there is a channel, if there is a gate that has a channel that has one end defined and the other one not defined, that's referred to as a hanging gate. These two columns down the sides are our planets. On the right-hand side, the black side, is connected to our personality. Our personality is a snapshot, a planetary snapshot of where the planets were all sitting, what gates were being highlighted by these particular planets at the time of your birth. And on the opposite side, we have the design planets. This is the unconscious part of your chart. This is a snapshot of the planetary placements of where the gates are being highlighted by the planets at that particular time at 88 days prior to your birth. So 3 months before your birth, you are in utero and you are receiving the neutrinos through your mother, through the cosmos coming down. And so yeah, that is the design part of your chart, and that creates the unconscious piece of your own chart. So there's a conscious side and an unconscious side, and I think I unpack this in a chart in a slide in just a minute. So I think I've covered all of those pieces. There's also the variables on here. We'll unpack them a little bit later, but these are the 4 arrows that create another layer. These are a really complex piece of your chart, and it's something that you probably unpack once you've got a really good idea of your energy type, your strategy, and your authority, and your profile numbers. Okay, so this is the chart broken down into, let me just, one moment, fiddling with too many buttons. This is the chart broken down to show you the archetype and the theme that is carried throughout all of the centers within the chart. So we start at the top. Your head center is all about inspiration, ideas, where they come from. 70% of the population have an open head center. This means that you are absorbing and amplifying everything around you. For me, I have a defined center, a defined head center. That's why I had to write everything down on the slide, so I didn't make sure I didn't forget. Otherwise, I would have gotten lost. The next center down is the ajna. It's all about conceptualization. So the head is about inspiration. The ajna is about conceptualization. conceptualization is about taking the inspiration and processing it into structures, formulated ideas, those sorts of things. So as we go through these centers, you'll know that there's gates within each of these centers, and those gates will then also carry their own nuance around that particular theme. So there's 3 gates in the head center. So those 3 gates within the head center will be about thought power and inspiration. The next shape down is the square. It's the throat. It's about communication. The diamond in the middle is the G center. It's all about the identity, how we see ourselves and how we feel love. This little triangle off to the side is the ego. It is all about will and determination, and only 30% of the population actually have this defined. So those are the people that are relentless at getting stuff done. Probably, yeah, my husband, he is relentless. Off to the side here, this is the spleen. It is the center for intuition and survival. This square in the middle here is the sacral. It's the life force energy. 70 to 75% of the population have a defined sacral that are our generators and our mini-gens, and they are here to light this world up. Over this side is our solar plexus. The solar plexus is the emotional center, and the square right at the base is our root center, which carries the energy around adrenaline and stress. It's a pressure center, so it gives you like a pulse, this adrenaline pulse for life. How are we going? Is that all cool? Everybody all right? Just checking this check. Looks like the Kabbalah. Yeah, tree of life. That's exactly where it sort of comes from, that it derives from, Heidi. Okay, so this is breaking down what I was talking about before, as we saw in that component slide around the defined, the undefined, and open. So everything in your chart that is colored in is defined, and everything in your chart that is not colored in is undefined. The centers that are undefined with no gates defined are considered open. So if we look at those two pieces, when it's defined, you will feel more connected to that particular energy because it's a consistent energy and you radiate this out into the world. It's where you truly know yourself. So for me, an example is I am an emotional projector. My solar plexus is defined. So my emotions are something that I am extremely connected to. It's taken a while, but I've gotten there. The places in your chart that is undefined is usually felt as inconsistent energy that reflects those around you. So everywhere that you have no definition, you absorb and amplify your environment. So the people within it, the neutrinos, those sorts of things, and you will amplify it. So I spoke to somebody today. They had a human design reading. She is a pure generator, an open solar plexus, talked about a lot of emotions flying around in her house, and she's just discovered that she has 2 pure generators and one person in their house that is an emotional manifester. So everybody is absorbing and amplifying the husband's emotional wave. So nobody in that house is emotional except for the husband, but they are absorbing and amplifying the energy from his solar plexus, and so they're feeling it tenfold. Does that make sense to everybody? The beautiful thing about that, we can look at that as a limiting perspective, But what the undefined pieces of our chart also provide us is the opportunity to grow our wisdom. When we are experiencing, and I think about my my G center, my identity center, which is open, I can experience how others feel about being themselves because I absorb and amplify their G center. So I grow so much wisdom because I've felt other people's identities through their energetic exchange. I hope that makes sense. Make sure you drop in any questions in the chat box if you require. So we talked a little bit about the design and personality as we were looking at those columns of planets on the chart components previously. So the planets down either side of the body graph reflect your defined gates. Note the numbers in each box. So if you have a look in the numbers in each of your on your chart, there are numbers within each of those planetary boxes. That is the gate that was being highlighted by that planet at that particular time. And remember, the personality is your time of your birth, and the design is 88 days before your birth. So the personality, the conscious black side, is who you think you are. It's very easy to connect with and reflects your actual time, date, and place of birth. The design, the unconscious red part, on the left-hand side is how you move through life. It's not so obvious for you to connect with and reflects the planetary placement 88 days before you were born. This is often considered how others see you. So again, with these planets and the design versus the personality, the top two planets down either side of your body graph or your chart, sometimes I know I've talked to both of those, but body graph and chart refer to the same thing. It's your chart. So the sun and the earth are those top two planets on top of your chart, and this is where your profile number is derived from. Now we will dive into profile numbers on our third session. They are really another layer of characteristics that you hold. So if you notice on your own chart that the decimal places reflect the conscious and unconscious numbers in your profile. So this particular picture that you see on your screen, this is the top of my chart. I'm a 2-4. So the 2 on the personality side, which is the conscious side, 2 is my conscious number, and the 0.4 on the left-hand side under design, that is my unconscious number. So and again with these 4 planets, well, yeah, they're 2 planets. They're not even planets. Sun and Earth, one is. The sun and the earth on either side, it is these 4 gates that are highlighted by the sun and earth that creates your incarnation cross. And I often talk about this in the human design reading because it's actually it's really powerful. It really helps you connect with who you're supposed to be. The conscious sun talks about your gifts and purpose, and I did a post about that. I haven't gotten to everybody yet, but a lot of people were able to resonate with either the higher or the lower expression of those gifts and purpose of that conscious sun gate over here. The conscious earth will teach you about how you come back to center, what it is that that earths you, that makes you feel grounded. And over here, your unconscious sun carries the theme of the triggers that you experience for growth. So for me, it's gate 42. So the archetype and theme around gate 42 will be what gives me my transformational growth. It triggers me for growth. And the unconscious earth, this one here, where mine is gate 32, and it is the unconscious earth that guides you to what is your connection to spirituality. So You could even go researching it with this. I mean, if you're a one line, you might go, oh, I'm, you know, my unconscious sun is gate 12. I'll go and research gate 12 of human design, and you'll get to connect with that archetype energy of what gate 12 carries, and then that will give you a real insight into what theme your life carries about connecting to spirituality. I hope that makes sense. Perfect sense. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next one, and I think we're almost finished, so we're doing good for time. So the variables, which was on this, so these arrows, we talked about them before, the 4 arrows at the top, you can only see 2 here, but they're right at the start, these four arrows. So these 4 arrows are found at the top of the chart, and they relate to the sides of the brain. So the right-facing arrows refer to the left side of the brain, and the left-facing arrows refer to the right side of the brain. And so there's a real element of the right-facing arrows that reflect the left side of the brain are all about flow, flow and femininity, real feminine elements, and the left-facing arrows carry the right-sided brain element of systems and analytics and processes and those sorts of things. So they connect to how we relate to, connect with, and consume the world. And these actual pieces on your chart change minute to minute. So if you're not 100% sure about your time of birth, it's probably not great to unpack the variables at depth. You really do need to have a very accurate time of birth to be able to unpack the variables that are right for you, because they do change minute to minute. So those variables then relate to, because this is a question I often get in human design readings, what are these other pieces? So this particular piece has come from, I don't have it on here, has come from the bottom left of a gen matrix chart. So it tells you all your details about the time of birth, your profile number, your incarnation cross, and then it goes into the design and the personality. And these are directly linked to those variables that sit on both the left and right side of your chart. And what this gives you is another beautiful layer. I'm just going to draw an example. I did a reading for a 3/5 emotional manifesting generator a couple of days ago, and she has an environment, as her environment is mountains, and which means she needs high views for perspective. She likes to see the big picture. She actually really likes introspection. But when I first glanced at her chart, being a 3 and a 5 and being really needing, and a Manigen as well, wanting human connection to bounce things off and being very busy. But what these other pieces, these variables give is another layer of the element of characteristics that you require in your design. So on the outset, on a glance, I wouldn't have thought that she would need much introspection, but because of these variables, it does give a flavor of needing alone time. And she had already observed that in herself. So yeah, so there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. But when we kick into tomorrow's session, we will just unpack your energy type, the strategy connected to that energy type, and then the authority, because that could be different. I think that's all we had. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions? Is that paid info on their website? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Catherine. That design and personality stuff, I get that because I have paid for that version. It used to be on there, but they've changed the subscription and they've taken that off. So, but if you want a copy of that full one, please just anytime anybody can yell out, I can run it and send you a picture of it. You couldn't get the free one to work on the Gen Matrix one, Pauline. We can muddle through that at another time. No, Rach, my program, I haven't really done any promos on it. I sort of just dropped the bombshell yesterday. And so I'll get some info up about it tomorrow. So stay tuned. How does everybody feel about this? Everybody's all good. We're not chunked out. I feel like it was it was easy to digest, I hope. Let me just have a look. Jess, the 3 low in a row are all defined. What does that mean? The 3 low in a row are all defined. You might have to unmute yourself, Jess, and let me know what that means. I'm a bit confused. Yes, go.
It's those 3 splenic ones in a row, not the root one, but the ones above it on the charts.
On the charts?
Yeah, not the root one at the bottom, but the one above it and the 2 on each side.
Let me have a look.
On my chart, that is. I'm talking.
Yeah, so let me just have a look. Chart.
Right, the name of them has just gone out of my head.
No, that's okay. And I've got a, so when you're looking, you're looking at the spleen, right?
Yeah.
And so what did you want to know?
My 3 are defined. What does it actually mean?
The 3 gates?
Yeah.
That you will carry a consistent energy that will have some sort of instinctual survival theme to it. So I can unpack that for you in specifically in a human design reading, or you can just Google those gates and see what sort of energy they carry.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep.
What's your profile number?
I'm a 3-5.
Yeah, you might have to experiment with it.
I'm an emotional mini Gen.
Yeah. 3 likes to experiment. So however you like to absorb and consume information, whether it's from a book or podcasts, you can go specifically for those gates and understand the gates. Is the spleen colored in?
Yes.
Yeah. So you will hold a real consistent energy around instinctual survival themes, and those particular gates will give you another flavor of that theme.
Okay.
In your life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Let me get back to this chat. Okay. Heidi, bit confused about the closed and the open centers. So we have the centers that are colored in. They are defined. I would say defined. That's my language. So the things that are colored in are defined. Anything that is not colored in is undefined. And then you will find there are centers that are not colored in, and there are no defined gates. Does that make sense? And you're a manifestor, right? Yeah. So you might have not many defined centers. Yeah. So you might have quite a lot of openness. And so for me, the difference between a center that is not colored in and has gates defined within it means that there are some energies that anchor you in that theme and that archetype energy, opposed to if it was not colored in and had no defined gates, you would be amplifying and absorbing all of those themes and archetypes from things and people around you. So, yeah. And you are blessed with a beautiful aura that allows you to sample a little bit and not so much amplify so much, but yeah, your aura's cool in a way that it actually, yeah, it does absorb and it does amplify, but you're on your own trajectory and it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. Right. A bit baffled, Rach. You let me know if there's any questions that are burning, and we can chuck that into some sort of way that you can consume it. Awesome. Thank you very much for that feedback. I've had a previous understanding of HD and find it so fascinating. And this is where, like I said, it's layer upon layer upon layer. It has to be an embodiment process. You have to be able to consume it and digest it in the only way that you can. And that was one thing I wanted to say. I did say that it's not a personality test. A lot of people compare HD to the Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs is great, but you still have to answer a question about yourself that can potentially come through a conditioned lens. It could be the story you're telling yourself. What I love about human design is that there's no story to human design. It's a blueprint, and it's you that chooses how you express that blueprint. So I think it's almost like it gives me more impetus, like more groundings to say that this is a really good understanding because it's actually part of my DNA. How much is it for a human design reading? I am doing them for 111 at the moment, and that's you receive an individualized report. It's not big, it's not huge. I want it to keep it digestible. This is part of my mission. That's part of my conscious sun for you to articulate, for me to articulate it in a way that you can process and embody it. So, and you can just message me anytime. Heidi, spleen, sacral, solar. Is that what you've got? You're good? You okay? Super manifester, yes. Oh, right, yeah. Message me, book me in. I'm all yours. And all of the information, thank you, Heidi. Regarding the defined centers, Sheree, both solar and ajna are colored, but gates are clear between. So would that be undefined? So your ajna, so let's look at the solar plexus. It's colored in, but there's no gates defined. So that just means no, it will have gates defined if it's colored in. There has to be a defined gate for it to be colored in. If you both solar and ajna are colored, but gates are clear between, so would that be undefined? Do you want to unmute yourself, Sheree, and yell at me?
I won't yell at you. Okay, so I can actually show you because I've been scribbling on it.
Yeah, you
so
go.
Looking at mine there, between the ajna and the solar, the gates are actually clear.
Yeah.
There's nothing defined between the two. So that's got me a little bit confused
So they will,
because
yep. Finish your question. So it's confusing, but there's other channels that connect it, right?
So between my root and my solar, they connect, and between my throat. No, sorry, it was throat and solar. I got that wrong. So it's throat and solar that we're talking about. So my throat is connected through to my sacral, but between my throat and my solar, nothing.
What is your design?
6-2 mini-gen.
So you will have a direct or an indirect connection between your sacral and your throat, because that's what will make you a manifesting generator, but it may not necessarily be that way. But you were talking about ajna. Oh, well, you were talking about
I
throat,
got confused. It was the wrong one. So it's between throat and solar, there's nothing. But between throat and sacral, we've got a personality and design in between that links the two up.
And that's what makes you the manifesting generator you are. A generator won't ever have a connection from the sacral to the throat, only a manifesting generator, because a manifester has a connection to a motor, which can be the ego center, the root center, the solar plexus, and that will connect it. A manifestor will have one of those connected to their throat. So that's what makes you the manifesting generator you are. So it's the hybrid between having a motorized throat and the defined sacral. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yep. Awesome. Perfect.
Thank you.
No worries. Awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Oh, 1-3's loving this. Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Now, if anything, got Shannon wanting to jump in. If anybody has got anything that comes up overnight, tomorrow, please you can message me or drop it in the event. Questions, post somewhere there, and we can unpack anything that comes up. So I think I'm gonna love you and leave you. Before we go, I might just call in Archangel Michael, because this is all about energy. We want to we've now been absorbing and amplifying each other's energy. So if we ask, and now I've just got goosebumps, ask Archangel Michael to come in with his big, lovely, shiny sword and slice all around us, disconnecting any cords that we have from anyone and anything at any time. And if we just imagine a big ball of white light coming down in through our head and dropping down into our heart center and expanding out, filling up our whole body with white light, all the way down to our toes, expand it out into your aura, out into the room, out into your house, out into the world. Woof, we're all cleansed and clear, and you're all good to go. So thank you so much for jumping in today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for holding so much space for me. And I really look forward to unpacking your strategies, your types, your strategies, and your authority tomorrow, because I think these could be really key pieces of where everybody's operating from a wounded space. So yeah, let's do that. All right, guys. Thank you. Love you all. Thanks so much. See you later.